Hey, you like cars? Yes, it's another one. We back, okay? Another week, another non-setup podcast. Yeah. I keep mentioning it because it's my accountability because of the fact that I haven't done what I was going to start to do, but it's going to take some time. But before we get into all of that, as I always say, welcome to the CarQuicks Podcast, episode 100. You almost forgot the number we were at. I was going to say last week's number. Let's try that again. Welcome to the CarQuicks Podcast, the CarQuicks Universe, the CarQuicks Extravaganza, episode 108. Welcome, okay? If you haven't come here, if you haven't been here, if you don't know who I am or what I do, well, I'm here to tell you. It's CarQuicks Podcast. We talk about the automotive news, things that are intriguing to me about the automotive space. Not all the news. I don't like repeating every single thing in the news. I like to talk about the things that I want to kind of, add my little spin on it. Things that I want to do, like I like to talk about. But first and foremost, how are y'all doing out there? My regulars, how are you doing? Welcome back. I'm glad you're here for another week. How's your family, your children, your loved ones, significant others, all those things in your life that you love? I hope they are fulfilling. I hope they are giving you that love back. I hope the goals are being reached. I hope that anything that is getting in your way is being removed, that you're getting over it, that our prayers are being answered, that the things that we are looking for and are working for are being accomplished. It's happening over here. A lot of things are shaking. A lot of things happened this week. Started a new job somewhere in my career, which is fun. I mean, who would have thought I'd be where I'm at now? If I'd have told myself 10 years ago or even less than that, I'd be in this IT tech space world, I'd have laughed. Okay, because it's not like I went to school for this. I went to school for automotive. I went to school to learn how to work on cars. Went to go work for Ferrari. And I've told my story before about that. So, I mean, to be where I'm at now is a wild blessing. Like, it's just truly kind of, sometimes I sit back, I'm just like, wow, who would have thought? Now, anyways, what are we here to talk about? Because what we're here to do is to enjoy our little moment we have together. Sometimes it's an hour, sometimes it's less. I don't know. This weekend probably going to be a little short. But let's just drive into some news and just talk about things that are going on within the industry. One of those things that I do want to talk about, and I've mentioned this before, I've talked about it plenty of times. I've mentioned my own thoughts about many of the decisions that automakers have made and how they have backtracked substantially on a lot of those. Case in point, Ram. So Ram trucks last week, I believe it was, because some of this news is just me reading through the week and kind of catching up to y'all this week and talking about it. Ram mentioned that they are stopping all the development on their full electric EV. Remember, they had a Ram EV they showed off plenty of times. It had like a massive monster battery. It was touting like 500 miles of range or something like that. It probably weighed 13,000 pounds or something crazy, but they canceled it. Now they are going to do something with electrification, so don't have to throw their hat in completely, but they will do something that is electrified with a V6 range extender. That to me is very intriguing because what it tells me is like, kind of falls into that hybrid platform. But if it's a V6 range extender, I'm like, you might be able to get some really crazy range out of this thing if it is built to that level. Like if it only gets 400 miles range or 500, so it's like, okay, fine, buy a diesel. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see what happens. But the reason why I'm mentioning that is not to talk about what that Ram EV was going to be. It's to talk about the industry shifting. Almost all the EV plans from everybody from top to bottom is shifting, moving. There are a few manufacturers that are still driving forward with EV plans, Volkswagen being one of them. They mentioned, I read an article that the Touareg, their OG SUV that they've had, that the next generation of it or the next iteration of it will be an EV. Now, obviously, in my head, I'm just like, an EV Touareg, I mean, I guess, if you're going to shoot it up to the market to like the luxury SUVs, and cool. But it wasn't something that, I mean, honestly, given how often people are going back on what they're talking about when it comes to EV platforms and their plans, I'm like, why would you want to do that? And this Ram kind of proves more of that. And I've said that I don't have an issue with EVs. I am not one of those people that is like, yo, no EVs, no electric cars. Like, I'm a car person and I also like electric cars. So I'm not against them. I just think that there are so many little things that need to happen for the lifestyle of an EV truck to really take hold. Not that Ford isn't selling the Lightning. I don't know how good it's doing, but I see them around. I see them. I see Rivians. I see you Cybertrucks. So electric pickup trucks is not some concept that cannot be successful in some way. I don't know if that success is. I don't really know what that success is for an EV truck. It's definitely not going to be anything like the regular ice powered F-150, which is like the best selling car vehicle in all of America. But what it tells me is that they're still trying to figure this out. And what they've made the mistake, and I've said this before, is that it was too polarizing of a shift to get and do away with any further development on an ice powered car or a hybrid platform or anything that would ease into the transition. It was like they were going to rip the band-aid off and say, we're going to heal anyway because you're going to put, it's going to heal still. And now we're still bleeding. And people are like, listen, the EV platform and just doing only EV from manufacturers that have a very big client base that is not just EV. I'm not talking about Lucid, Rivian, and Tesla. I'm not talking about the companies that come out that are EV only from the onset. That to me makes perfect sense. Scout Motors that Volkswagen's working on makes sense. Make it EV only. That makes sense. But when you're talking about companies that their bread and butter is somewhere else, and then you try to introduce EVs, and then you try to stop development on the thing that got you to being such a renowned name, that's where the issues pop up. Now, also, the market for the EVs is really not where it was when this first conversation first started happening. Definitely not when Tesla kind of showed up with the Model S 10 years ago. It's certainly not where it was prior. And so right now, it doesn't make any sense financially for a lot of these companies to keep putting money into cars and vehicles that they know are not going to sell at the rate that they need them to turn a profit. Nissan is another example of this. Nissan just canceled the Ariya, the EV SUV they've had that kind of looks like a Murano, but it wasn't bad. I driven one and it's a very good SUV. Like it's not bad. The features in it are nice. It's good luxury. It's comfortable. It's quiet. It's nice. It has utility. Nice touch materials and leather. It's a nice SUV. Really, really nice. But the problem is when you put it up against the likes of the other vehicles in this range or SUVs and things of that nature that Nissan sells, it just isn't making any financial sense. They keep cutting the price. They keep cutting deals. You could have leased one for $99 a month last year. That's wild. And Nissan also has other issues going on. Nissan is truly, they're not. I know I've repeated this over and over that they're just not in a good space, but like when I see the news of them gutting out design studios in San Diego, figuring out different manufacturers or distributors for their headrests to cut costs, they are slicing and dicing. Fruit Ninja over there. Whatever can be cut is getting cut. Now, the design studio, to kind of go segue into Nissan real quick, the design studio is interesting because in that article, I don't know who it was from Nissan, but they mentioned that their Chinese design studio or design team is churning out more designs in the San Diego US based one at like a 30 to 40% reduction in cost. Now, I had a different theory on that because when he said that, I was kind of like, that could also be like a cultural thing where they're just going to work and not look to be compensated for what they should have been for the amount of work they put in. I don't know. That may not be the case. Maybe they are that efficient. But I also believe that there shouldn't only be one place in a country that has a completely different push for design and look and not like in your home country. Why are we not designing Nissans in Japan? And I don't know the answers to that. I'm just throwing out a random opinion. There could very well be some key details and differentiators and things that happened in the past that I'm just not aware of. But when I'm thinking about Nissan and them getting back to being on the front page of one of the best Japanese manufacturers or foreign car makers, why are we designing cars in your home country, in your hometown? Because I think that also plays a role into why these cars were what they were at that time. The Nissan 300ZX was because it was designed by the Japanese company, Nissan. It's the reason why the GTR, the R33s and 2s and 4s are what they are. It's why just certain things to me bode well for the history and moving forward when it comes to these cars. I think it does matter where your design team is. I don't think you can just outsource it to the cheapest bidder in another country who has a completely different view on how they design cars or how they want them to look. Another example of this, BMW recently had an article. Well, they didn't have an article, but they were speaking at an event, and they said that the reason why there was gigantic grills all over their vehicles, from the G80s to the XMs, was for the Chinese market. And I said that when this was happening, I said they're not designing this for America anymore. They're designing this for the Chinese market, because in that market, a lot of the designs are extremely polarizing. They are very, what's the right term? They are almost like ostentatious. They are very much trying to be seen. I want you to see this design. I want it to exude luxury in some form or fashion. I want you to not recognize this against any other car. I want it to be its own unique thing. And so for that reason, we end up with these wild looking designs and front ends. And if BMW themselves is admitting, hey, we were designing cars for a specific market, so it didn't really look like the European understated luxury that we came from. It turned into the very much in your face, here are my grills, all of them, and here are all the LED lights, here are all the angles, here are all the door creases, here's everything to make this look like something that it wasn't, but this is for a certain market. If Nissan is designing in that same market, I'm just like, what are these cars going to look like? If they're saying they're putting out all these designs, where are they at? Where are the designs at? And what do they look like? If they look like the market from which these people are from, that may not be the Nissan that we need right now in order to revive them into the place that they need to be. Nissan was somewhat understated, very high quality, very good performance, very good value. If you look at the old Nissan Maxima, when it started turning into like the Transformers in designs, things started to dwindle. If you look at the R35 GTR that just stopped production, in hindsight, it's a fairly simple design. If you look at the GTR prototype they showed, which is here, that's ridiculous. Okay. I mean, yeah, it looks like Blade Runner, looks like Ghost in the Shell era, like anime. It looks like that, but that isn't really Nissan, right? There's a way to kind of transition to the next field, into the next era. And so if Nissan is having that difficulty when it comes to the design studio, if you're talking about the EV platform, it just tells me that these companies are moving in a way where I just feel like, what happened to like the group that they had to discuss things with? What happened to like the think tanks? What happened to the open discussion of inviting people in that were Nissan fans or people that were Ram fans and things like that? Like, what happened to bringing in the clients to ask them, hey, we want to show you something. What do you think about this? We need to get back to that. We need to get back to like bringing in groups of buyers, bringing in groups of enthusiasts, and just asking them, what do you think? What's your opinion on this? What do you see for the future? Are we doing this correctly? Do we need to change what we're doing? I just feel like there is a way to do this better where we don't have these giant announcements, all these vehicles being spent on money and development. I mean, the amount of millions that Ram has wasted on trying to develop that electric truck is a problem, because now it's canceled. Now you got to try to figure out some of the things that you did develop. How can we implement them into the next vehicle? Nissan is trying to find their footing anywhere they can. They do have a few things coming out that I am interested in. The new Nissan Leaf, I said before, is a massive upgrade over the old Leaf. I would love to drive that. That is a hybrid electric. Is that hybrid? No, that's fully electric. Sorry. And I'm excited to drive that. I want to drive that. That to me makes a lot of sense. But we also need to start bringing in other things, or at least advertising them better. I think the Nissan Frontier is a very good pickup truck, and one that is really the answer for a lot of people if they don't want to deal with maybe hybrid or small turbo engines and things like Tacomas or something like that. The Frontier is a very good answer, but I don't even see advertising the way it should be for some of those vehicles. But I digress. Okay, I'm not talking about Nissan. I was talking about EVs in general, and some of the decisions being made to kind of bring down those expectations. That's what it is. Expectations were through the roof. I mean, CEOs and COOs and companies, they was walking outside like, yo, it's over. Ain't no more V6s. We ain't doing V8s. No, it's done. Electric forever. And it didn't work out. So here we are. Now, the benefit about this is it's better to learn from your mistakes and then know how to execute the plan later. EVs are not going anywhere. I just think that they have to go back to the drawing board and execute a better plan. if anything, invest in the infrastructure. I feel like car companies, if I was a car company CEO, I would say instead of us focusing on trying to build the car, I want to build a charging station. I want to be like Tesla for my Fords. I want to build some Ford Sync stations, okay, or something like that. I'm gonna repurpose the name somewhere. I want to do that. If Elon pulled it off with Tesla, then Ford and these companies like Honda that got multiple billions and billions of dollars can do the same thing. I think that also plays better when it comes to introducing a car because then you say, hey, listen, all the major cities and states, we got charging stations there. We're building the infrastructure in major cities first. Then we're going to introduce a new EV. Then we're going to keep building out that infrastructure. Then we're going to introduce another EV. The Tesla book, okay, the playbook. Take from Elon what he did, do the same thing. I think that will actually help better for their sales because then when somebody goes to buy the vehicle, they don't feel like they have to worry about wherever they're going to charge. You can tell them, hey, listen, we got free charging just like Tesla did in our stations. If you buy this new Ford F-150 Lightning or you buy this new Ram EV, you go to our stations, free charge. It's the same playbook. That's how Tesla gained so much traction. Not that they didn't make a good car, but I'm saying you got to add some incentive. You got to add some incentives to get people to say, okay, I'm gonna give you a shot. Relying on the charging networks of whoever's been controlling these is really not a good plan, and it doesn't make your product look that much better. It looks like you get hindered and you get a knock against yourself because I got to rely on somebody that has a system that isn't reliable. You build it, you build the car that connects to it. You don't, then all of a sudden have a full package, full plan. That would be my idea. Now, getting away from EVs, we do have some GR Corolla news, and we also have some other news and miss it. I'm gonna throw it in early. It's not GR Corolla updates, but we'll get to that later. So for 2026, Toyota again is updating things about the GR Corolla, which honestly, at this pace, I really gotta say, I might be wrong about me thinking that the GR Corolla had like a 2 to 3 year lifespan. I'm mistaken because we're only on model year 3. This is 2026. I have a 2023 model. So maybe, I don't know what's going next. I do know that there's leaks about a redesigned Corolla that very much looks like the front end of a Prius. I'm not sure if I'm the biggest fan just yet, but I know that there's a next generation of a Corolla coming. But for the 2026 model year, Japan gets the first model of these changes. So for 2026, what they're doing is structural rigidity is up. They're using structural adhesive to put in further places around the chassis to make it stiffer and stronger. They're also adding better cooling. So one of the things I noticed in a photo that somebody threw up on the little Facebook group is that the air intake, and if I have the picture, I'll throw it up here. And if you're not watching the video, what are you doing? Okay. Go follow me on YouTube, like, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend, and follow the journey. Okay. It's more than just podcasts over there. Anyways, so on the intake for the 2026 model year, they have closed up a portion on the OEM intake. There's like a tube that comes out of the front cowl, front little area, and under it's kind of open. It like wasn't completely sealed. So I guess the 2026 one, from I could tell on the photo, is that now it is sealed completely, basically to probably stop all any hot air that's kind of bouncing around the engine bay coming back into the intake. They then are doing another upgrade that I really wish we had this, and maybe, just maybe, we can retrofit it, but it's not really necessary because the aftermarket got us covered. But the audio system in the GR Corolla, as you've known, if you follow my YouTube channel, I did a video about Beat Sonic and their audio amp little upgrade for the JBL system because the audio in the GR Corolla is just like dog. It's like if you're a music person, you're gonna get in there and be like, "Yo, that JBL means absolutely nothing, just barely living." Okay, that's what it sounds like, just barely levels. Okay, no levels to the audio. So the new 2026 model gets 9 speakers and they're adding the subwoofer. That is everything that it needed. Because I have the same JBL system that's in my wife's Toyota Sienna, and that thing knocks at a level that's nowhere near what the GR Corolla does. So it needed those things like more speakers and a subwoofer. So that's some of the updates that you're doing. Now, the reason why I was talking about us having the aftermarket is because there are plenty of people that have now addressed the issue when it comes to the audio in the GR Corollas from the 23 model year to the 25. From Beat Sonic with their little amp, you can get one from OEM Audio. There's a gentleman in Hawaii that makes custom kits. I forgot his full name, but he makes custom kits from subwoofers, speakers, component speakers, plug and play wiring harnesses. I mean, my upgrade path is most likely going to end up there unless Beat Sonic, who I work with, and I love those guys, if they come up with a subwoofer option, which I saw at SEMA last year, they said they're working on. If that finally happens, then I'm on board because I'll throw it on with the amp I have and we can have a good old time. But so those upgrades are happening to the GR Corolla for the 2026 model year. But something else happened within my world of GR Corollas, which was very interesting. So if you happen to follow my social media, whether it's on Instagram, Facebook, or even YouTube as well, a week or so ago, I had gotten a DM from somebody who was at an event for Toyota showing off the version of the Corolla, the GR MN version, Gazoo Racing, Meisters of the Nürburgring. That's what that GRMN stands for. Now, I've done videos on this when they have the camouflage one running around Nürburgring and just all the speculation I had. That is official. Posted it up. Virality. Okay, but I mean not to like, in my world, okay, viral. Don't think that it was some crazy I show speed levels of virality. Okay, it wasn't that. But it took off and it spread. My post was on the drive.com, Motor Trend. People I follow on YouTube, like Kirk Kerfields, he does a bunch of stuff on like leaks and rumors on Toyota vehicles. He posted my stuff. I mean, tons of people were posting the thing that I did, reposting it. And I was like, cool. I was like, I am such a fan of the GR Corolla community that I wasn't like, it's not me trying to take credit because it was a leak that somebody sent me. And I don't really care about taking credit over something that me just showing the community a car. However, however, certain people caught on to that. So I got called by Toyota. And not like, they send me email. Like somebody send me an email from Toyota asking if we can have a conversation. So call them, you have a conversation. Long story short, they want me to bring the post down. They're like, hey, we want you to bring those down. Now, here's the thing. Now, I'm a person about building relationships. So I already kind of knew what this probably could be because I'm looking at the email. I'm like, why would Toyota be emailing me talking about they want to have a conversation? There's only one thing. I mean, I'm not that big yet that they're like, yo, we need you to be the face of our campaign. I mean, if they want me to, please holler at me. But I knew it kind of had to deal with this post because it was kind of everywhere. And it was the only images that anybody had of this thing. And so they said, we want you to bring it down. But I like the fact that I was talking to a woman that works with, dealerships and things like that. And she was like, we want to do something for you if you're willing to do this. Now, on the phone, I said, I'm okay doing that because I want to build a relationship with you guys. I've done close things with you with Texas Auto Writers. I've done reviews and stuff on your cars. I'm trying to get my foot further in the door of being along these press events and doing car reviews and just being involved with the automotive scene at a very high level. I mean, this is, when I say full circle, I'm talking about life full circle. From my story of dealing with magazine journalists back in 2004 and working with journalists in the New York metro area and wanting to be in this world to be in here where I'm just like getting a glimpse. It's crazy how life works. But anyways, so I brought those posts down. So if you've been watching my social media and trying to find that picture and stuff, I brought it all down for a reason. And the reason was because I knew that if I had gotten the attention of them, that I'm somewhere on the radar. Somehow, some way. And I want them to pay attention to what I'm doing. I want them to hear the podcast. I want them to invite me to these events. I want to be involved. So building a relationship is the most important thing. So the person on the phone, she was like, I'm really happy. Like I think she was probably more surprised because I guess there might have been an angle I could have said, I'm not taking it down. I don't have to because somebody sent it to me. I didn't do it. Y'all should have done your own protocol and your security. But like, why do I want to be that guy? I'm not trying to do that. I just want to give out the news. I don't know what's going to happen. We talked about driving the car. We talked about being involved with other things that are going on. I won't speak on anything because nothing's finalized. But more importantly, I enjoyed the conversation because it means I'm making waves. Okay. That's all it meant to me. What it meant to me was that there are people that I've been wanting to get in contact with that are noticing, and that's cool. I do one for y'all. Maybe later I get something from them. I don't need anything, honestly, because for me, giving out the information is the point. I don't care if a video has a certain amount of views, you take it down and things like that. That's not my MO when it comes to this journey. This is a marathon. I'm not trying to even rub anybody the wrong way as I keep going and trying to get further and further into it. Now, I'm not saying you do that every single time. There might be certain situations that happen where it's like, no, that's my content. I did this, but we weren't at that stage now. We're not even that's not what those posts were. But that was an interesting thing that happened. So Toyota spoke to me. I'm I have things in the works. I'm not speaking to anything yet, but it does bode well for what's happening later on because next week I'm going to be at the Texas Truck Invitational. Toyota will be there with their entire lineup of TRD Pro, Trail Hunter vehicles and Highlanders and Forerunners and Tacomas and Tundras, along with other manufacturers like Acura will be there. I'm sure I don't think Nissan may have something there. I don't know. They haven't shown them in the list, but there's a list of people that are going to be there. Genesis is going to be there. So again, the timing of these things is always so crazy to me because I'm like, oh, it's a perfect time. I'm going to be back over there. I'm going to see the representative from Toyota, and hopefully we can have another conversation. I can say like, hey, I'm trying to I'm getting in. I got invited to this event, so that is cool. I get to go up there and drive a bunch of trucks and everything and review them and talk about them. And you'll see that information, you'll see that content very shortly. But moving along, okay, that was the news about kind of my little viral moment getting in contact with, corporate heads in Toyota. But it's cool because we're making moves. Things is working out. Speaking about sports cars or sporty cars, Subaru did announce some new changes to their lineup, the BRZ and the WRX. No, we don't have an STI. Though I will say this before I get into what I was going to talk about. I have been seeing some rumblings. I've been seeing some rumblings that a true STI is coming. I've been seeing some rumblings that 2026, they're going to right their wrongs. I don't know what that looks like. It is so simple for them to do this right. They can take the current WRX for the love, paint every piece of body cladding, add better ground effects, front lip, aero, add a proper wing. Don't copy the wing that you've been using since the 2011s and 13s. And don't use an old wing. Redesign another one, but make it look proper amount of horsepower. You guys can do this. Rechange the Recaro seats in there. Don't use the same ones you've been using. You can do this. But anyways, what Subaru did show is a new special edition of the Subaru BRZ and the WRX for their series thing that they do, like what Toyota does on the GR86 when they make like a special color. They use yellow this time. Every time I do see a yellow car, like I actually would wrap my car yellow. And I know I always talk about my favorite color being blue. I'm weird like that. Blue being my favorite color isn't the color I put on everything. But I would wrap the GR Corolla yellow, and I think it would look really, really dope. We just need some more color. If there's anything Toyota should do, please splash some brighter colors in there. I know we did the blue one, but throw some greens and yellows in there as well. So the BRZ, as you can see up here, is now going to be in the yellow series, as well as the WRX. They're going to have things like yellow stitching and little plaques inside of the interior. And they're only making 350 miles of these. So if you actually do want one of these, that's actually very rare. Funny enough, a WRX or a BRZ could end up being a very rare spec, especially if you get this yellow series one. The performance doesn't change. There's no more horsepower in any one of these models. They are what they are. But it is cool to see these series that they do these different changes of color. I do wonder if Toyota is going to do something like that for the GR Corolla for this model year for 2026, if they're going to add another color. I wonder what it could be. I hope it's not another darker color. I do hope that they actually do something fairly wild. Throw a purple in there, throw a green in there, a yellow, something. Like just throw something in that's just not another shade of gray or black or silver or anything like that. Even though silver could kind of look dope if it's the right one. So Subaru's doing that. 350 models. If you want one, go to your dealership, tell them, hey, I want the series yellow one. I'm sure they'll try to mark it up, which is absolutely foolishness. Hopefully they don't try those games because we are long away from that. But speaking about that, but going back to what I was talking about the truck invitational real quick, because I want to kind of, before I wrap this up, like I said, it's going to be a short one. We're just talking real quick. I want to get this episode out there. So at the truck invitational, I do have to make another plan. So just to kind of talk to y'all real quick. I remember back in the spring event we did, it was the first time I was with Texas Auto Riders going to an event like that. And I very much learned about the almost run and gun style of reviewing cars when you drive and everything. I'm a little bit more seasoned now. I've driven and reviewed some other cars from dealerships, and I've just had a little bit more time. So I'm now trying to make my plan for how I'm going to piece out my day. I have a new phone coming. My iPhone 17 shows up tomorrow. so I can now actually record some decent video and pictures and stuff to post to social media. So I might do a short style thing. I might have to take some cues from people like Forest Reviews, Auto Reviews, Mobile Mama. Those people that they have a short style that I feel like they're all in the same group. If they're not in the same group, I will be stunned. But I feel like they all live in the same vicinity of each other and use the same camera person. It's just too familiar. Anyways, I'm going to take some cues from what they do and try to figure out some way to consolidate a lot of the vehicles and only choose a few of them to do a longer form conversation and review for my time driving it, because I can't do everything. Like, for instance, they're bringing the TRD Pro Tundra, TRD Pro 4Runner, TRD Pro Tacoma, Trail Hunter Tacoma, Trail Hunter 4Runner, regular 4Runner Limited, a TRD Tundra Rally, and a Grand Highlander, a Grand Highlander. How am I talking? A Grand Highlander Platinum. There's no way. There's no way. I can't drive. Even if I have all day, you're talking about 30 minutes per vehicle. Like, you got to hit the streets, run down the road, turn around. So knowing that, I'm going to have to figure something out. I'm going to have to do a very unique thing. Now, I do want to drive the Tacoma TRD Pro. That one I do want to do a review on and drive. I have driven a 4Runner, though I haven't driven the TRD Pro one. So I do want to try to figure out how to implement that. But I also want to try out the Trail Hunter. And they have a Trail Hunter Tacoma that got a bunch of added things like tents on the top and things like that. So that might be cool to try out too. And then there's the TRD, there's the Tundra, like the Pro one. I've never driven that. But they have another edition one called the Rally, which I've never seen before. And I'm more intrigued with that when it comes to making a video that people want to see. Because I think everybody at this point in time has seen a video on a TRD Tundra Pro. I almost feel like they've seen the same thing on the Tacoma Pro, but I just like how that thing looks, and I think it'd be a cool video. So I got to make my plan. I got to either do just the Tacoma Pro and the TRD Tundra Rally, or maybe I do the Grand Highlander they have there. I don't know yet. But then the short option of it allows me to kind of do quick videos on each one of them and then just kind of hit the whole lineup. But they also have Genesis come with the GV70. I have to be in that. That's numero uno. And also Acura's bringing the ADX, which I also want to drive as a small little compact one. And there are other companies they haven't announced yet. So there's a list of vehicles, and I'm like, okay, when I get the full list, I'm going to have to decide these vehicles I'm going to do a short on. I'm going to have to make some type of script and some idea of like what they are, look up their specs and understand what can I say about this if somebody else hasn't, or what do I think about it as CarQuicks, or I don't know. I might make a spin of something. Like when I do the car review videos, I put them in a playlist that's like Past the Fob. It's kind of like my name I would use when it comes to car reviews. Maybe for the shorts, it's a CarQuicks, CarQuicks. I don't know. I'll figure that out at that time. However, adding into my journey when it comes to the getting it further into, I say journalist or journalism. I'm not a journalist. I didn't go to school for that. So I don't want to ever use that name because it takes away from people that are truly journalists. But my further push into getting into reviewing and doing media, automotive media, has continued even when it comes to this event, because the Lantis group I've been speaking to about being within their cycle of loaned vehicles, but they've made a lot of changes when it comes to what they have in their press fleet. So some of the ideas I had in the stories I would like to build around it, those models aren't available. But I've had enough conversation that I'm getting offered, and we'll see if it happens. I'm saying it now, speaking into existence, but it has been spoken about getting loaned a Durango sometime in November, December to do a full story on. That is exciting. The very first time I get a loan vehicle is going to be a monumental occasion, because that is proving that I'm showing my value to the companies that want to put them out to people. And like I've said before, everything that I do is a marathon run. I'm not even attempting to want this to happen without me putting in the work, so that when it does happen, I can sit back and be like, this is what I did. I did all of this. I don't want this stuff handed to me early on. It's like, well, you haven't really done anything. And I also want to always do long form stories. I don't want to just do shorts on vehicles. I want to talk and have a time with them, a week with them. I want to build a story around it. I'm not saying I'm some cinematic, videographer or anything like that. I do what I can do, but I just like having the longer conversation. So that is happening. GR Corolla updates before we get out of here. I put the shifter in from Dark Matter X. Oh my goodness. Yo, man, there's something. If there's one thing I've done on the GR Corolla more than anybody is always did modifications for the way it felt behind the wheel. Now, sometimes I think in my head I should have put some of that effort or money into aesthetics like wheels, you know, aero kits and lips and all that, because I really haven't as much. Like I don't have a set of wheels yet because I really can't even make up my mind. But I do have an idea for that when it comes to SEMA. Like I said before, I got something I'm working on. I told my wife, she's like, that's kind of a smart idea. That could work. I got something I'm doing to try to get some of these companies to kind of, join me on my journey. We'll get to that when SEMA comes closer. So I put the shifter in. It feels glorious. Absolutely glorious. Driving the car is even more enjoyable. I can't, but this thing is so good. Now, I have some other stuff that is coming with a friend of mine. We're going to do something when it comes to Epsilon, when it comes to their wing they're putting on. I'm going to do a whole full review of me driving the vehicle. I just did the install video, which I still have to put up. Once I put that video up, I then will do the review video. And I wanted to separate them because the install video was important enough to at least show people how to do this correctly, even though I had to I'm going to have to cut and chop it up a bunch of times because of my own schedule and having to stop halfway and finish it later. But I do want to do the driving video separate because I want to speak about a lot of things when it comes to short shifters on this vehicle, because I've driven Billetworks, Forge Motorsports, Racer X, Cooler Works, now Dark Matter. And this has a hefty price tag. It's about $1,600 of short shifting. But that would undersell it by just calling it a short shifter, because we're talking about high levels of engineering, from the gear stop to the throws to reverse lockout engineered into everything. The fact that you can change the height of it all in one unit. It's very high engineered. If that type of thing doesn't intrigue you, then I understand it wouldn't be for you. You have to like the engineering of it. You have to like the idea of the person behind it doing all this work to develop something like this. And I want to speak to that. Now, the gentleman that did do this, I am going to do a podcast episode with him, because I said, hey, I want to talk to you more about your company, because I never heard of you, because he's really in the Subaru community. And when I had my Subaru, I just didn't even know he existed. And maybe at that time he wasn't around just yet. But the fact that he made it for the GR Corolla, I'm like, we got to talk. I want to hear about your story. I want to hear about what you engineer, why you do it. Give people the value to understand what it is that makes yours so different than the masses. And it is a lot different. Now, he don't got to prove it to me. I can feel it, see it, and hear it, that it's completely different. So that's coming up soon. I think we're going to do it closer to when he has a time. He has to put out some more products. He's on like a one-man band. And he said that he has a lot of inventory and stuff that he's getting through. Not that he has to sell it, but things that have been sold that he has to ship out. And I guess he might be doing a Black Friday sale or something like that. But I think maybe closer to the holiday time, it might make more sense to do an interview with him to kind of help push up his product and kind of put it out there for people to see and hear about. And then we have the SEMA Auto Show. I told you I'm gonna talk about this now probably every other week or every week until we get there. SEMA show's coming. I'm excited. I cannot wait. It's going to be a glorious time once again. So that is coming, and I look forward to that. My wife is looking forward to it, surprisingly. Who would have thought? I'm getting her more and more into cars every passing day. Okay, so it's going to be a good time. Things are moving around as they should. I'm progressing. The things are getting better. I'm enjoying the podcasting. I'm glad you're here again. And as I say every week, do as you wish, do as you may. I sometimes don't say it every week, but do as you wish, do as you may. It was another episode of the CarQuicks Podcast. I know it was a short one this week. We're going to get to some more news next week as well. I'm trying to get my schedule back to being consistent, because there was listen, it was like a 10-day spread. I'm like supposed to be every week, not 10 days and 13 days. So I'm getting it back. We're getting it back. But I'm glad you joined me. I'm going to see you next week. Tell your friends about it. Enjoy it. Like it. Share it. Say a comment. If you're watching on YouTube, hype it up. Hype me up. You know that guy that's always dancing. Big, black, tall guy. He's always dancing, called my hype me up. Yeah, hype my video up, okay? Please. Helps me get discovered. And if you've been watching this video, been watching anything I've been doing and you just haven't subscribed to it, come on, man. Subscribe to that button. You don't got to put notifications on. If you want, you can. But I'm going to be around. You're going to see me regardless. Notification or not, I'm going to pop up. Anyways, thanks for joining. I'm going to see y'all around next week. Peace.